All right, Shalom Michael, the high spirit we in Judah of the GMS Mississippi Camp, giving our honor and glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakha. Also, I want to give double honor to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone Ruel. Peace and blessings, health and wealth to the house of David the elect. All right, today I want to go into a topic entitled, in order for the covenant to play out between Eve and the serpent, this had to happen. And the thing that had to happen was the downfall of fucking Adam, man. All right? And the covenant played out, or the perks of the covenant played out in what we call the feminist movement. And the feminist movement is basically a part of the gynocracy. All right? This side of the world being under the vibration of a female and under the rule of a female. In order for gynocracy to play out, all right, in order for feminism to play out, the patriarch had to be obsolete. So in order for one agenda to manifest, the other agenda had to be canceled out. So how do you manifest feminism or matriarch, all right, in America while the men, Israelite men, are still here? So how do you play out a covenant in which the woman would be on top and the man would be at the bottom? All right, because part of that covenant apparently was the woman would be able to play out something called hypergamy. All right, hypergamy, and she could have her different options of men under the guise of dating and being single and not being married yet. All right, so she could play out her innate desires to have sex with different multiple partners without being shamed for it, and then turn around, settle for a provider. All right, that was part of that package. Part of that package was being independent from Adam. So really, we're in the queendom. We're in the queendom. She's in her own empire, man. She's in her own world. So she exists, and she exists really as a deity. All right. That's why when you have a woman, you have to commit to her. Where's that in the scriptures? All right. So really, Eve exists as a god in the Western world. The woman exists as a god, but Eve gets the perks of that. So she has an I am about her. She doesn't look at herself as a part of a family unit. All right. She doesn't look at herself as a part of a so-called black community. She looks at herself as an individual, because in the Western world, you have something called individualism. But you couple that with feminism, she has a sense of I am about her. As a matter of fact, I've seen women who had t-shirts, so-called black women had t-shirts that said she is, as opposed to he is, she is. And they really have a God complex about themselves. All right? But in order for that to play out, in order for women to live in a kingdom, a world where they could play out their sexual options until their biological clock starts ticking, then they find a provider to settle with. In order for that to play out, you have to not know your worth. And that's what I realized. In order for Eve to play out this queen, and you use men for your own will, i.e. sex and money, in order for you to use men like that, you have to devalue those men. So the thing that happened in America is you have women going through a phenomenon saying that they have to settle. Now that women have been liberated and women have elevated themselves in the society through their college accolades, now because of their innate trait of hypergamy, they feel that they're settling with the average man. But what happened was, like Kevin Samuel always stressed, the guy that you want, or you think that you the guy that you desire, you don't qualify for him, because traditionally men didn't get with women who had other men, or who were with other men. It's not natural. So in order for a woman to play out her little hypergamy and play out her little Eve package deal with the serpent, the man has to suppress his instincts, and he has to not know his value. All right? See, the reason why women are getting upset because the Israelite man is going overseas is because he's going to realize his sexual market value. All right? And the number one weakness of a controlling woman, the number one weakness of a woman who wants to have you to herself or kind of own you, is you being aware of your options. All right? Because in one breath, females are attracted to men who have options, but when it comes to having you in her possession per se, all right, her weakness is you being aware of your options. All right? So what's going to happen is now the Israelite man is not going to play into your nigger woman plantation. You see? Because you're going to find out that America is just a sunken place for the Israelite man. Even if you're not physically in shackles, even if you're not physically incarcerated, your mind is incarcerated. Because this is all you know. That's why the people says, is Israel a homeborn servant? Why is he spoiled? Because you was born into a world where you're on the lowest of the pecking order, but you don't know why. We didn't have a contest with Esau to determine who was superior. We didn't have a contest with Asians or Moab to determine who was superior. You were just born into a world where you had to play a role that not only you as a Israelite man, all right, is basically just a nigga, all right, but you as a man that's toxic. Your nature and your desires and your natural devices as a man is toxic. But you don't know why it was called toxic. It's only called toxic so the feminine agenda can play in America. It can manifest in America, man. If that makes sense. So in order for the feminine agenda to play in America, your masculinity has to be stumped out. It has to be stumped out. So when you go into Black Lives Matter and you look up their little principles on Black Lives Matter, it has nothing to do with so-called Black Lives Matter. It has everything to do with replacing the masculine with the feminine, because that's part of the feminine agenda, the Queen of Heaven vibration in America, set up by the elites, the feminine agenda. All right, that's part of it, stumping out the masculinity, man. All right. So that's the whole thing, that the men are the problem, and the reason why we have these problems in the black community and the problem with the so-called black woman is basically toxic masculinity. And that's a lie. But it has to be spread so the feminine agenda can play out, and it's basically replacing the man with the woman. It's all about a feminine and a feminist agenda to stump out masculinity. And another way that has and another thing to keep you from exercising your options, your sexual options, is to tear down your confidence to think that there's nobody else. That's why nigga women say them women overseas don't want you. You're just gonna be paying for sex, or you have to provide for them for money. That's why they say those things, because they're gaslighting you. They don't want you to be aware of the options you have, because once you are aware of the options you have, it's been proven you will leave your bitch. It's been proven that men who went overseas, men who went to, say, Brazil, the way they got treated, they went back home and cut their wife off, man. Because he found out that his wife was, in so many words, Jake finds out that the woman is nothing but an oppressive handler. Really, a lot of our women are handlers. They're handlers for the oppressor. They're handlers for Esau, Edom, to keep our mind in an inferior state. Like you had a taskmaster in slavery calling the 6'2" Israelite man, "Hey boy, you getting uppity with me, boy?" That's a handler. He keeping your manhood in check. "Hey boy, don't backtalk me, boy. You look down when I'm talking to you, boy. That nigger better not be reading." All right, because the slave hustle ends once you know your value. Then you're gonna want to run up the plantation. So you have to think that your worth is only that of being an animal in slavery. Same thing here. In order for the feminist agenda to play out, you have to be devalued. That's the only way somebody can use you as a tool. Use you to pay for dates. Use you just for a sexual dildo. Use you to keep her company. But they can also, if you're a tool, you can also be an expendable. And you never value, you never appreciate it. But in order to keep that hustle of you being a tool going, you got to get devalued. You got to get devalued. You got to get devalued. You got to get dehumanized. All right? Everybody know that. You know? That's part of the gas. That's the hustle in America. And it's part of us being the hidden ones, too. Is that we don't know our own value. When you bring us back to our forefathers, then that value comes back. Then we go back into the laws and the principles and the wisdom. That puts breath back into us. It puts self-esteem back into us. Because the agenda with not only the man, but the Israelite man is to stump out your value. That's why you have a Jake. And I'm not saying it's to target brothers. You like what you like. We all had different type of women. But that's why it's very common for a man to be in the gym working out, but his woman don't work out, but she still feel like, hey, you need to get in shape. She's still telling him, you need to get in shape. You need to get to the... But here she is, big, you know, because we've been devalued, man. But if he only knew his options abroad, you think he'll stick with that woman? Like I said, I'm not trying to, start nothing with your family or nothing, but I know how it works. Women have to devalue you so you won't be aware of your sexual options. So it's a contradicting characteristic, because in one breath, females are attracted to men who attract different women, but they also fear if you become aware of your options, you're going to replace her with a better prospect. So women have to devalue you out of a deep-seated insecurity that you will leave them. It's all sorcery. It's all witchcraft. It's all a mind, F-U-C-K. It's all it is. And if it wasn't true, why is Eve reporting to Esau that men are traveling abroad? Because if we were really the problem, you'd be happy that we'll be leaving. Now, brothers in the truth not leaving, we got a job to do. But for men who are going over there to build their life, why would you care? Because the hustle stops. That's why. The hustle stops. That your Eve packet gets, it's like your retirement packet gets stripped from you. Like if we were to stay in America long enough, we wouldn't get retirement. All right? So it's that's why people work a job for 20, 30 years to live off that retirement. Well, the retirement was supposed to be a provider. After you ride the cock carousel and play out your hypergamy, then you go and get a provider. But now the men that you were prospecting to be a provider, they're leaving. So your retirement money is gone at the end of your hustle. Your retirement money so that's a threat. That's messing up the whole scheme. But I'm saying this to say we've been devalued, man, so they can play out their little covenant, man. All right? And that's part of that's part of the dry bones waking up too. I mean, primarily it's the laws, but really knowing your value outside of this construct and not judging yourself based on this construct. With that, I hope you brothers and sisters will edify. Till next time, shalom.